I found the photograph in a box at my parents' house. The photo was creased down the middle. Someone had folded it and then tried to smooth it out. We were 17, sitting on the hood of his car in a parking lot somewhere, the sun behind us making our shadows stretch out long on the asphalt. His arm was around my shoulder. My head was tilted back and my mouth was open. I was laughing. So was he. His name was Danny. He was the first person I ever told about my father leaving. He was the first person who ever told me it was not my fault. I left him when we were 19. No explanation. No goodbye. I remember the last time I saw him. He was sitting on the steps outside his apartment building. I was in my car with the engine running. He waved. I did not wave back. I just drove away and told myself I would call him tomorrow. Tomorrow turned into a week. A week turned into a month. A month turned into 14 years. I told myself he would understand. Then I told myself he had probably forgotten me. Then I just stopped thinking about him at all. That was a lie. I thought about him every time I made a new friend and wondered if they would leave me the way I left him. Last month, I found him on social media. I sent him a message. 3 words. I was wrong. He wrote back within an hour. He said, "I know. I've been waiting for 14 years for you to say that." Leo and I met when we were 12. He moved to town in the middle of the school year. The kind of kid who shows up on a Tuesday and eats lunch alone because no one knows where to put him. I sat down across from him with a tray of food I did not want and asked if he liked baseball. He said no. I said me neither. That was it. We were inseparable after that. Sleepovers where we stayed up too late playing video games. Road trips to concerts 2 hours away in cars that should not have made it. The kind of friendship where you do not have to explain yourself because the other person already knows what you are trying to say before you find the words. High school was easy with Leo. It made me braver. I would tell him I was nervous about talking to a girl, and he would push me toward her before I could talk myself out of it. He made me funnier. Or maybe he just laughed at things no one else laughed at, and that made me feel like I was funny. He made me feel like I deserved to be liked. I did not tell him that. I should have. I thought he knew. I thought friendship did not require saying things out loud. I was wrong about a lot of things. After graduation, everything changed. I went to college 3 hours away. He stayed home to help his mom with her business. We promised we would stay close. We promised we would call every week and visit every month. I believed it when I said it. I meant it. Then I stopped calling. Not because I was angry at him. Not because he did something wrong. Because I was scared. Scared that he was making new friends without me. Scared that he was having inside jokes with people whose names I did not know. Scared that I was not as important to him as he was to me. I thought about calling him, and I imagined his voice sounding distant, distracted, like I was an obligation instead of a person he wanted to talk to. That thought hurt more than losing him. So I left first. I stopped answering texts. I let his calls go to voicemail. I told myself I was protecting myself from being hurt. I was not protecting anything. I was being a coward. I was a 19-year-old kid who did not know how to say, "I'm scared you do not love me anymore." So I said nothing instead. And I let 14 years of silence fill the space where my best friend used to be. In college, I told people Leo and I had drifted apart. That was the lie. Drifting implies distance that happens to both people slowly, like 2 boats pulled by currents neither one chose. I did not drift. I jumped. I cut the rope and I swam in the other direction, and I told myself it was for the best. I told myself Leo was better off without me. I was too much. I was too needy. I was too scared all the time, and he was tired of carrying me. I told myself he would eventually leave anyway, so I was just doing it first. I made him the villain in a story he did not know he was in. A story where he was going to hurt me, so I hurt him first. None of it was true. None of it had ever been true. But I needed to believe it because the alternative was looking in the mirror and seeing someone who had abandoned his best friend for no good reason. Marcus asked about Leo once. He was a guy on my floor, someone I played basketball with, not a close friend, but close enough to notice the photograph on my desk. The same photograph I found in my parents' house 14 years later. Leo and me on the hood of his car. Marcus picked it up and asked if we still talked. I said no. He asked why. I said people change. The words came out easy because I had practiced them. Marcus looked at me for a second, and then he said, "That is not an answer." He did not say it mean. He said it flat, like he was pointing out that I had just told him something that was not true, and we both knew it. I did not have another answer. I did not have a good one. I did not have a true one. I just had the lie I had been telling myself. People change. That is not an answer. Marcus was right. But I was 19, and I did not know how to tell the truth yet. I carried that non-answer for years. Every time someone asked about my best friend. Every time a friendship ended, and I wondered if it was my fault. Every time I felt lonely at 2 in the morning and knew exactly who I wanted to call, but could not because I had chosen silence, and silence has a cost. The cost was Leo. The cost was knowing I had hurt someone who did not deserve it. The cost was becoming the person I had been afraid Leo would become. The one who leaves. The one who stops answering. The one who makes you feel like you never mattered. I looked in the mirror every day and saw the thing I had been running from. I just did not know how to say sorry to someone I could not even look in the eye. I almost called Leo when I was 25. I had his number saved in my phone even though I had not used it in 6 years. I typed out a text. "Hey, it's been a while. How are you?" I stared at it for an hour. My thumb hovered over the send button. I thought about what he would say. Maybe he would not respond. Maybe he would respond and ask where I had been, and I would have to tell him I did not know. Maybe he would respond and say he did not want to talk to me, and that would be worse than silence, because at least silence left room for a different story. I deleted the text. I told myself it had been too long. I told myself he would not want to hear from me. I told myself I had nothing to say that would make up for 6 years of silence. 6 years. I had not spoken to my best friend in 6 years, and I was still making excuses. I ran into Maya at a grocery store when I was 28. She was standing in the produce section, holding a bag of apples, looking exactly the same as she had when we were teenagers. She recognized me immediately. Before I could pretend I did not see her, she said my name and smiled. We made small talk for a minute. Then she said Leo still asks about me sometimes. I asked what she meant. She said not in a sad way, just in a wondering way. He wants to know if you are okay. I told her I was fine. She looked at me for a second, the way people look at you when they're trying to decide whether to say the thing they're thinking. Then she said you should call him. I said I would. She nodded. She did not believe me. I walked out of the grocery store with nothing in my cart, and I sat in my car, and I thought about Leo asking about me. Not angry, not bitter, just wondering if I was okay. After 6 years of silence, he still wanted to know if his old friend was all right. I started the car and drove home. I did not call him. I told myself I would do it tomorrow. Tomorrow turned into 6 more years. I thought about that conversation for 6 more years. Leo still asked about me. After 14 years, after I disappeared without a word, without an explanation, without even a goodbye, he still wondered if I was okay. That broke something in me. Not enough to make me call. Not yet, but enough to make me hate myself a little more each year. Enough to make me look at every friendship I had made since Leo and wait for it to end the same way. I was so afraid of an apology. I did not even know what I was afraid of. That he would yell at me. That he would forgive me. That he would tell me he had moved on and did not need my apology anymore. I did not know which one scared me more. So I did nothing. I kept the silence alive because it was familiar, because it was easy, because it did not require me to look at the person I had become and say I am sorry for hurting you. Those words felt impossible, so I did not say them. For 14 years, I did not say them. I turned 30. I had a good job, a girlfriend who loved me, friends who showed up to my birthday parties and helped me move apartments and texted me back within an hour. I had built a life full of people who chose me. But there was a hole, Leo-shaped. I tried to fill it with other people. I made new friends, and I told myself they were just as good. But no one else had known me when I was 12. No one else remembered the sleepovers where we stayed up until 3 in the morning talking about nothing. No one else remembered the road trips where we sang off-key to songs we both hated. No one else remembered the way we could sit in silence for hours and it was not weird. It was just comfortable. That was something only Leo had. and I had thrown it away. I started writing Leo letters. I never sent them. Dozens of letters over the course of 2 years. Apologies, explanations, excuses. I wrote about my fear of being left, my insecurity about not being good enough, my certainty that he would eventually get tired of me, so I left first to save myself the pain. Each letter was different. Each letter said the same thing at the end. I am sorry. I wrote those 2 words more times than I could count, but I never put a stamp on any of them. I folded them and put them in a drawer and told myself I would send them tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. My girlfriend found the letters. She was looking for a charger in my nightstand, and there they were, a stack of folded paper with no envelopes. She asked who Leo was. I told her. She sat on the edge of the bed and read one of the letters. Then she asked why I had not sent any of them. I told her because I was afraid he would not forgive me. She looked at me for a long second. Then she said that was not my decision to make. She said I did not get to decide whether he forgave me. I only got to decide whether I apologized. She was right. I had been protecting myself from his rejection for 14 years. I had been so afraid of him saying, "I do not forgive you," that I had never given him the chance to say anything at all. I had decided for him. I had decided that he would reject me, so I rejected myself first. That was not courage. That was cowardice dressed up as self-awareness. I sat on the bed with the letters in my lap, and I realized that my silence was not about protecting Leo. It was about protecting myself from the possibility that he might not want me back, from the possibility that I had burned a bridge I could never rebuild, from the possibility that 14 years was too long and some apologies come too late. I looked at the letters and I wondered what I was so afraid of. Him saying no. That was it. One word. And I'd spent 14 years running from that one word. What if I apologized and he did not forgive me? What if that was a risk I should have taken 14 years ago? What if I had already waited too long? I found Leo on social media. It was not hard. He had the same profile picture for years. A photograph of him and his dog, a golden retriever with its tongue hanging out, both of them squinting into the sun. He looked older, softer in the face. The sharp lines of being 19 had smoothed into something gentler. I stared at his face for a long time. I remembered being 17. I remembered sitting on the hood of his car and laughing at something I could not remember now. I remembered thinking we would know each other forever. I had broken that promise. I had walked away and never looked back. But he had just kept living. He had made new friends and fallen in love and gotten a dog and taken a photograph in the sun. He had not waited for me. He had just kept going. That was what hurt the most. Not that he had moved on, that he had to. I sent him a message. Not long. I did not know how to make it long. I typed and deleted and typed and deleted. Finally, I just wrote, "Hey, it's me. I know I have no right to reach out, but I was wrong. I was wrong to leave. I was wrong to disappear. I am sorry. I will understand if you do not respond." I stared at the message for 5 minutes. Then I closed my eyes and pressed send. He responded within an hour. I was sitting on my couch with my phone in my hand when it buzzed. His name on the screen made my stomach drop. I opened the message. He said, "I know you were wrong. I have known for 14 years. I was just waiting for you to be ready to say it." I stared at the screen. 14 years. He had been waiting. Not angry. Not bitter. Not plotting revenge or nursing a grudge. Just waiting. For me to catch up. For me to be brave enough to say 3 words. I was wrong. I'm sorry. He had been ready to forgive me before I even knew I needed to apologize. I asked if he wanted to talk. He said, "I have wanted to talk for 14 years. You are the one who was not ready." I asked if he was angry. He was quiet for a minute. Then he said he was angry for a long time. He said he stayed angry for years. He would think about me and feel his chest get tight. But then one day he woke up and the anger was gone. He said he did not know when it left. It just did. And what was left was something simpler. He just missed me. He missed his best friend. And he had been waiting for me to come back so he could tell me that. I sat on my couch with my phone in my hand, and I did not know what to say. He had been holding space for me for 14 years. A space I did not deserve. a space I had done nothing to earn. And now he was offering me forgiveness I had not asked for. Not yet. He was offering it before I even finished my apology. I did not know how to deserve that. I did not know if anyone could deserve that. But he was offering it anyway. And I had to decide whether I was brave enough to take it. I called Leo that night. I did not text. I did not type out another message and delete it. I just pressed call and held the phone to my ear and listened to it ring. He answered on the second ring. His voice was the same. Deeper, maybe. Richer in a way that comes from 14 more years of laughing and talking and living. But the same. He said hello like he already knew it was me. I said I do not know where to start. He said start anywhere. He said I'm not going anywhere. That was when I cried. I had not cried in years. Not at funerals. Not at breakups. Not at any of the moments that were supposed to break you open. But I cried because he was kind. Because he had no reason to be kind to me. Because I had left him and he had stayed and he was still here on the other end of the phone, 1,500 miles away, telling me he was not going anywhere. I told him everything. The fear that he would find better friends in college. The insecurity that I was not interesting enough or fun enough or good enough to keep around. The certainty that he would eventually leave me, so I left first to save myself the pain. The years of telling myself he was better off without me. The letters I never sent. The stack of apologies I had written to myself because I was too scared to write them to him. He listened. He did not interrupt. He did not say I told you so. He just let me talk until I ran out of words. When I was done, he said he knew most of that. He said he knew I was scared. He just did not know why I would not let him help. I asked if he would have helped. He said that is what friends do. They help. He said I did not give him the chance. He did not say it like an accusation. He said it like a fact. Like he had been holding on to that sentence for 14 years and was finally letting it go. I said I was sorry again. He said he knew. He said he believed me. Then he said stop apologizing and tell me what you have been doing for 14 years. He made it easy. He always made it easy. That was who Leo was. The person who took the hard thing and made it simple. The person who met you where you were and did not make you feel bad for being lost. We talked for 2 hours that night. About my job and his dog. About my girlfriend and his garden. About all the small things that add up to a life. It was not like no time had passed. That would have been a lie. There was a weight between us, a heaviness that came from 14 years of silence. But we talked through it. We did not pretend it was not there. We just kept talking. And by the end of the call, the weight felt lighter. Not gone, but lighter. I hung up and I sat on my couch, and I realized that rebuilding a friendship was not about erasing the past. It was about carrying it together instead of alone. I had been carrying my guilt by myself for 14 years. Leo had been carrying his hurt by himself for just as long. And now we were finally carrying it together. That did not fix everything, but it was a start. It was the only start we had. We met in person 2 weeks later. A diner halfway between our cities. I got there early. I wanted to watch him walk in. I wanted to see his face before he saw mine. The diner was the kind of place with vinyl booze and coffee that was too strong and a waitress who called everyone honey. I sat in a booth by the window and I watched the parking lot. He pulled into a spot near the front. He got out of his car. He was wearing a jacket I had never seen before. His hair was grayer at the temples. He looked like a grown-up version of the 17-year-old I had left behind. He saw me through the window. He smiled. That smile undid something in my chest. Something that had been tight for 14 years. Something I did not even know I was holding. We talked for 4 hours. Not about the past. Not about the silence or the letters or the 14 years of nothing. We talked about the present. His job as a physical therapist. His dog who was getting old and needed medication. My girlfriend who made me laugh. The places we had lived. The people we had loved. The things we had learned about ourselves when we were not looking. It was easy in a way that surprised me. Not like no time had passed. Like time had passed, and we had both become different people, and those new people still liked each other. At one point, after our food had come and gone, and the waitress had refilled our coffee twice, I said I was still sorry. The words came out before I could stop them. He looked at me across the table. He said he knew. He said I did not have to keep saying it. I asked if he forgave me. The question felt huge in my mouth. I was afraid of the answer. I had been afraid of the answer for 14 years. He put his coffee cup down. He looked at me the way he used to look at me when we were kids, like he was seeing something I could not see in myself. He said he forgave me 10 years ago. He said he was just waiting for me to forgive myself. That hit me harder than anything he had said on the phone, harder than anything I had prepared myself for. He had forgiven me before I had even asked. He had been holding space for me while I was running away, while I was writing letters I never sent, while I was telling myself he was better off without me, while I was carrying a stone that he had already put down. I did not deserve that. I had done nothing to earn his forgiveness, but he gave it anyway. That was what I had thrown away. Not a friend, not a person who liked me, a person who loved me without conditions, a person who believed I would come back even when I did not believe it myself. I sat across from him in that diner booth, and I felt the stone in my chest crack. Not break, not disappear, but crack, enough to let some light in, enough to let me breathe. After the diner, I drove home. I cried again. I had to pull over a rest stop because I could not see the road. I sat in my car with my forehead against the steering wheel, and I let it out. 14 years of guilt. 14 years of telling myself I was unforgivable. 14 years of carrying a stone that Leo had already put down. My girlfriend was sitting on the couch when I walked in. She took one look at my face and asked what was wrong. I said nothing. Everything. He forgave me 10 years ago. I have been punishing myself for nothing. She held me. She did not say anything. She did not need to. She just held me while I cried on the couch in the living room of the apartment we shared. That was the first time I realized how much of my life I had spent alone with my guilt. How many nights I had lain awake thinking about Leo while he was sleeping peacefully, having already forgiven me. I was the only one still fighting a war that ended a decade ago. I started calling Leo regularly, once a week, sometimes just to say hi, sometimes to talk for an hour about nothing important. He told me about the years I missed, the jobs he quit, the relationships that broke his heart, the hard times when he wished I was there, his mother dying, his dog getting sick, the nights he sat alone in his apartment and wanted to call me and could not because he did not have my number. I listened. I did not apologize every time. I just listened. That was what he needed. Not more apologies. Just someone to hear him. My girlfriend asked if I was okay with how easy it was. I said it was not easy. It was simple. There was a difference. She asked what I meant. I meant that forgiveness was simple. He gave it. I took it. That was simple. But living with what I had done was not easy. It would never be easy. I had to learn to carry the weight without letting it crush me. I had to learn to show up without drowning in shame. I had to learn that deserving forgiveness was not the same as earning it. He gave it to me freely. I just had to figure out how to accept it. Leo invited me to his birthday. A small thing. His apartment. A few friends. Beer and pizza and a cake his sister was making. He said he wanted me there. I said yes without thinking. And I spent the next week terrified. What if his friends asked how we met? What if they asked why we stopped talking? What if they looked at me the way I looked at myself? Leo texted me the day before. He said, "You do not have to be perfect. You just have to show up." I read that message 10 times. I showed up. It was fine. More than fine. It was good. I met his friends. I ate his cake. I watched him blow out candles and make a wish. I did not ask what he wished for. I did not need to. I already knew he had been wishing for the same thing for 14 years. And it had finally come true. I went to Leo's birthday. His apartment was small but full. His friends were nice. They did not know our history. They just knew I was an old friend, someone from before, someone who mattered even if they did not understand why. I watched Leo laugh, watched him move through the room, refilling drinks, telling stories, making everyone feel seen. He was good at being with people. He always had been. I had been afraid that meant he did not need me, that I was replaceable, that he had found better friends and forgotten all about the kid who sat next to him at lunch in the 7th grade. I was wrong. Need was not the point. Choice was the point. He did not need me. He had built a full life without me, but he chose to let me back in. That was not about need. That was about love. And love that is chosen is stronger than love that is required. I learned that at 33, sitting on his couch with a paper plate in my hand, watching him blow out candles on a cake his sister made. We go camping now, once a year, just us. We drive up into the mountains and find a spot by a lake, and we set up our tents, and we sit by the fire until the wood burns down to ash. We talk about nothing. The best way to start a fire. The worst job we ever had. The songs that get stuck in our heads. We talk about everything. His fear of turning 40. My fear of becoming my father. The shape of a life when you stop running from it. I told him once that I was grateful he waited. He looked at me across the fire and shook his head. He said he was not waiting. He was just living. The door was open. I had to decide to walk through it. I think about that sometimes. The open door. I spent 14 years standing outside, convinced it was locked. I told myself he did not want me. I told myself I had burned the bridge. I told myself it was too late. But the door was never locked. It was always open. I just needed to be brave enough to turn the handle. I needed to be brave enough to say I was wrong. I needed to be brave enough to believe that some people will hold space for you even when you do not deserve it. Leo was one of those people. He had been one of those people since the day we met. I was just too scared to see it. I still have the letters. The ones I never sent. Dozens of them, folded and unfolded, creased and smoothed out again. I keep them in a drawer in my desk. Not as shame, as proof of how far I had to go, of how much I had to learn, of the person I was before I understood that silence is not strength and running is not protection. Leo does not need to read them. He already knows what they say. He knew before I wrote them. That is what it means to be known by someone. They see you even when you are hiding, especially when you are hiding. I stopped hiding. That is the only apology that matters. Not the words, the showing up. Finally, after 14 years of standing outside the door, I finally walked through it. And Leo was sitting on the other side, exactly where he had always been, waiting not for me to be perfect, but for me to be present. I'm over at where silence ends. Have you ever spent years convinced a door was locked when all you had to do was turn the handle?